Right now, somewhere on a quiet farm, in a stall that looks perfectly peaceful, a horse is suffering in complete silence. No cries, no panic, no obvious sign at all, because horses don't stress the way we expect them to. They don't scream, they don't run. Most of the time, they simply shut down. And the humans standing 3 feet away, the ones who love them most, never notice a thing. For decades, scientists believed a calm-looking horse was a happy horse. But new research into equine behaviour is proving something unsettling. The horse standing quietly in the corner of its stall may be the most stressed animal on the entire farm. And by the end of this video, you'll understand why this discovery is changing everything we thought we knew about the animals we thought we understood best. Welcome to Barn Mind. Today you'll discover the 7 hidden triggers that quietly stress horses every single day. Signals so subtle that most owners live their whole lives without ever recognizing them. You'll learn why a horse's silence can be more dangerous than its panic, how a horse's heart can react to yours before you even open the gate, and why one small routine change can undo months of trust. But the final discovery completely changed the way scientists understand this animal. The first stressor doesn't happen in the stall at all. It happens the moment a horse is led away from the herd. Picture this. A horse is separated for a routine vet check, just 10 minutes. A short walk to another paddock out of sight of its herd mates. 10 minutes shouldn't matter. But researchers monitoring heart rate variability found something startling. Within seconds of losing visual contact with its herd, a horse's heart rate can spike dramatically. A physiological stress response nearly identical to a predator encounter. Horses evolved as prey animals on open plains where survival depended entirely on the herd. A lone horse, historically, was a dead horse. That instinct never left. It's still wired into every horse standing in every stable today. So when we separate a horse just for a minute, its body doesn't know it's a minute. Its body believes it has been abandoned to the open plains, alone and unprotected. This is why some horses that seem fine during separation are often the most affected. They're not calm, they're frozen. A survival response researchers call learned stillness, where the animal stops resisting because resisting has never worked. But that isn't the strangest thing researchers discovered about isolation. They found that even after horses were reunited with their herd, cortisol, the primary stress hormone, stayed elevated for hours. The stress didn't end when the isolation ended. It lingered quietly, long after the horse looked calm again. And that leads to the second hidden stressor, one that has nothing to do with being alone at all. Horses, it turns out, are obsessed with routine, not in a casual way, in a way that borders on necessity. Feeding time, turnout time, the order horses are led out of the barn, even which stall a horse sleeps in. Change any of it without warning, and something happens beneath the surface that most owners never see. Researchers studying stabled horses found that unpredictable schedules were linked to significantly higher rates of stress-related behaviors. Weaving, cribbing, stall walking. These aren't quirks, they're coping mechanisms. Physical evidence of an animal trying to self-soothe a nervous system it cannot otherwise control. Here's where everything changes. Scientists compared 2 groups of horses. One lived under a strict, predictable schedule. The other experienced the exact same care. Same food, same turnout, same affection, but at inconsistent times each day. The second group showed measurably higher baseline stress, even though nothing about their treatment was worse. Only the timing was different. Think about what that means. A horse doesn't just need to be cared for, it needs to be able to predict its own life. And when that predictability breaks, even for something as small as a late breakfast, the horse's nervous system pays the price. But the next discovery is even harder to see, because this stressor comes from inside the horse's own body. Horses are designed to eat almost constantly. In the wild, a horse grazes up to 18 hours a day. Small amounts, nearly non-stop. Its entire digestive system evolved around that rhythm. But in modern stables, many horses eat 2 or 3 large meals a day, with long gaps in between. And during those gaps, something dangerous can happen quietly inside the horse's stomach. Equine stomachs produce acid continuously, whether or not there's food to digest. Without a steady stream of forage to buffer that acid, the stomach lining can become irritated. Studies estimate that a majority of performance and stabled horses show signs of gastric ulceration, much of it undiagnosed because horses rarely show obvious pain. Instead, they show subtle behavioral shifts: irritability during grooming, reluctance under saddle, a sudden dislike of the girth being tightened. Most owners read these as attitude problems. Scientists read them as pain signals. This is the part nobody expected. Many horses labeled as difficult or moody by their owners were later found on veterinary examination to be suffering from ulcers the entire time. The horse wasn't being stubborn, it was in pain, and it had no other way to tell us. The fourth hidden stressor is one we rarely question because it's built into almost every stable in the world: confinement. A horse built to roam for miles every day is instead kept for much of its life inside a space roughly the size of a small bedroom. Researchers studying stall confinement found that horses with limited turnout displayed significantly more stereotypic behaviors than horses with consistent access to open space and social contact. Not because stalls are cruel, but because a horse's body and mind were built for movement, constant, low-level wandering movement, and confinement removes the one thing that regulates its nervous system naturally. Most people stop here, assuming the fix is simple: just give the horse more turnout. But they're missing the biggest discovery. It isn't only about space, it's about choice. Horses given access to move freely, even in a smaller area, showed lower stress markers than horses confined to larger stalls with no social interaction at all. In other words, isolation inside a big space can be worse than companionship inside a small one. Which brings us to a stressor most owners have never even considered. One that comes not from the horse's environment, but from the human standing next to it. Horses can read us better than we read ourselves. Researchers studying horse-human interaction discovered something remarkable. Horses can distinguish between a relaxed human heartbeat and an anxious one, and their own heart rate begins to synchronize with the handler standing beside them. This means a nervous owner, even one trying to appear calm, may be transmitting stress directly into the horse without a single word. Scientists almost ignored what happened next. In one study, horses handled by people instructed to feel anxious, even while behaving normally, showed elevated heart rates almost immediately, despite receiving identical physical treatment to horses handled by calm participants. The horse wasn't reacting to what the human did, it was reacting to what the human felt. For centuries, we assumed horses were simply reactive animals, startled by sudden movement or loud noise. But this discovery suggests something deeper. Horses may be constantly reading our internal state, our tension, our distraction, our unresolved stress from the rest of our day, and absorbing it as their own, which means the horse standing quietly while you tack up isn't just waiting, it's listening to your nervous system. The sixth stressor hides in plain sight, inside the horse's own herd. We often imagine herd life as peaceful. In reality, herds run on a strict, ever-shifting social hierarchy, and any disruption to that hierarchy can create weeks of hidden tension. Introduce a new horse, remove an old companion, even reshuffle which horses share a paddock. Researchers found that social instability within a herd was linked to increased aggression, vigilance behavior, and reduced time spent resting or grazing, activities essential for a horse's physical and mental recovery. Here's what surprised even the scientists studying it. The stress wasn't limited to the horses directly involved in the conflict. Horses on the periphery, animals not even competing for rank, showed elevated stress hormones simply from witnessing the instability around them. In other words, tension inside a herd doesn't stay contained. It spreads quietly through every horse nearby, whether they're involved or not. This is the same instinct we saw with isolation, echoing back. Because for a herd animal, safety was never just about food or shelter. It was about belonging to something stable. And that idea, stability, leads us to the seventh and final discovery, the one that ties everything together. For the seventh stressor, scientists went back to something almost too obvious to consider: the environment itself. Not the big dramatic changes, the small ones. A tarp flapping in a new spot, a trailer parked somewhere unfamiliar, a different person filling the water trough. Horses possess extraordinarily wide peripheral vision, capable of detecting movement across nearly the entire horizon at once. Combined with monocular vision on each side, a horse can perceive threats from almost every direction except directly behind and directly ahead. A survival adaptation with an unexpected cost. It means horses notice everything. Every subtle shift in their surroundings registers, even when it means nothing. Researchers found that horses in environments with frequent small, unexplained changes showed chronically elevated vigilance behaviour, more time with heads raised, ears swiveling, muscles tense, compared to horses in visually stable, familiar surroundings. But the final discovery completely changed the way scientists understand this animal. It wasn't the changes themselves causing the stress, it was the horse's inability to predict them. Every single stressor in this video, separation, unpredictability, hunger, confinement, human tension, herd conflict, environmental change, traces back to the same root cause. Horses don't fear change, they fear the unknown. And the more control we quietly hand back to them, consistency, forage, companionship, calm handling, the more that fear dissolves. So the next time you see a horse standing quietly in its stall, still and unreadable, remember that stillness might not be peace at all. It might be the sound of an animal doing everything it can to hold itself together, in a world that rarely stops long enough to ask if it's okay. And perhaps the greatest mystery isn't whether horses feel stress the way we do. It's how long they've been enduring it, quietly, right in front of us, waiting for someone to finally notice. What about you? Have you ever noticed a horse acting off and later realized something deeper was going on? Tell us your story below. I read every single one.